So hello, everybody. My name is Abby, and I work at the Kenora Youth Wellness Hub. I am a counselor at the Kenora Youth Wellness Hub here, where we have a variety of services for youth ages 12 to 25. And today I invited Kevin Raine, an old high school friend, to have a conversation about mental health because he's doing something pretty cool. And when I saw what he's been doing, sharing conversations with a bunch of different people in regards to mental health, I wanted to reach out and find out more about what he's doing and why. So if you want to give an introduction, Kevin.
Hi there, my name is Kevin Raine, 27 years old. I'm a professional hockey player who, due to COVID, I'm not currently playing. And so I've taken on a job elsewhere. I'm currently working at a school. And, I've played pro for the last 7 years, and throughout the duration of that time have struggled with my own mental health. And so it's something that I'm coming to terms with. It's something that I maybe thought before I tackled it that it was something I didn't have to face, didn't have to go head on with, and it's something I've recently decided to do exactly that with. And so, thankfully, the support of my family and friends and everyone I've had the chance to discuss with have all been very encouraging in tackling my own issues. And so, I'm here to say that if you're struggling, to reach out to seek help. And of course, what I've done with that as of late is to start publicly discussing mental health, both generally and personally, with a variety of guests that have been able to come on my show or podcast or whatever we want to call it. And so I'm learning an amazing amount with all the discussions I'm able to have. I've received nothing but encouragement in talking about it. And, the more and more discussion we can have, the more and more we can normalize the fact that we all endure struggles. And so, that's in a nutshell what I've struggled with, how I've gone about it, and trying to present that message to everyone that there's no shame in seeking help.
Yeah, and I think that's so cool. And that's like the main reason I reached out. I was like, this is so cool to know somebody that, I knew. And I mean, doing something like this, because it's not something you just scroll upon on your news feeds where you're seeing familiar faces just openly having these discussions. I think sometimes there's like that misconception that like you have to be like having these conversations with professionals. And it's not true. Like, I think just starting with what you're doing is really cool because you're opening up that conversation just for people to have on, less intimidating grounds, I guess. So have you found like that to be something that's happened? Like, have you had people reaching out to you because of what you've been doing?
Of course, yeah. The feedback has been incredible. As soon as you kind of open yourself up and start sharing, that is almost an invitation for other people to feel okay to then maybe discuss things with you. And so I found that, the things I have spoken on, or the things I've been able to speak to my guests about, are all very, very relatable things. We all feel, we all endure. These times are particularly tough. We're not necessarily meant to be isolated. We're not necessarily meant to be alone. And, even prior to circumstances we face right now, given the whole pandemic, people feel alone even before they're actually alone. And so, everything that I've spoken on, people are finding they relate to. There's definitely feedback saying that, that it was really needed that they were able to see such a video. And I guess kind of back to the question, I am talking, these people I'm speaking with aren't professionals. We're just having a discussion. How are you feeling? Oh man, I'm not feeling very good. Oh, me neither. Oh, well, tell me about how you're feeling, right? And just a chance to vent and get things out, and discussion, whether it be with a professional or with a friend, is so healthy.
And it's funny because when I got into this field of having these conversations and kind of the helping profession, as a young person that's just new to the field, I was so intimidated about doing the right things or saying the right things in these conversations. And it's funny how you can come back and like kind of ground yourself and like go with your gut in these conversations. Like if you know, are genuinely caring about the other person and what they're sharing with you and just trying to meet them where they're at, it can take away like that intimidation that you know, you're supposed to be saying a certain thing. And I mean, obviously, as like somebody that's kind of been trained a little bit differently, you maybe ask a little bit different questions, but at the same time, just like with young people, to be able to build those relationships and like, you know, actually have people want to open up to you, you have to kind of do that, like, you know, just have that genuine feel with them. So I think that's really important. That's why I really like what you're doing.
Yeah, and you know, it's something that with every episode, every step I kind of take forward, it's something I find reveals kind of another step beyond that, right? I don't know that I see an end necessarily to it, but you know, as much as say watching a video of mine or watching another video similar to it, where it is encouraging you to go and speak to somebody, can't deny how important it is to take that next step if you are feeling like discussions you might be having with your friends and family aren't quite enough. And that leads us back to me being so excited about what it is you're doing, because something I've found in what I've been doing is I've tried to seek out the likes of professionals in the field to discuss different topics, because of course there are so many areas of mental health and everyone's own situation is so exclusive that you know, you kind of have different places to go for different needs. And I think it's so amazing and unique that the youth hub that you work with is kind of a one-stop shop for everybody. And I think it's so amazing that I can pop in to go see you or pick up the phone and call your organization and be able to say, hey, this is what I've got. And then you guys are then able to direct me within your organization where to go.
Yeah, and that's what's probably my favorite part about working with the Youth Hub is that idea that like health is holistic, and that, I mean, typically when, you know, you are facing some mental health challenges or challenging times in your life, like it doesn't always necessarily affect you where you would specifically just need to speak with someone. Sometimes it's actually requires like, you know, maybe talking to a nurse as well, getting supports with like looking at education and maybe going back to school or finishing some credits. So it's really like a place of goal setting, and looking at, you know, beyond, you know, just the conversation, but also like what can we do, having it all in that space. And what's really cool that we've noticed is sometimes the drop in is the biggest piece, because sometimes people just need that safe place to go a few times before you actually formally want to talk with a counselor. And that's what's cool about the hub. I mean, we're virtual right now with the lockdown, but once we're back open in person again, we are open, like our doors are open noon to 6, Monday to Friday, and youth are able just to walk in and like, you know, it's not like, what are you here for today? It's like, oh, welcome. We'll give them a tour and then kind of see if there's a specific service they wanted, or if they actually just wanted to hang out, do maybe some sort of programming in like a less formal way. And then sometimes after the 4 or 5 visits, they actually do want to speak with a counselor. So I think that's really cool about like just having that space where you can kind of get that conversation started. And a lot of like what you're doing, I mean, you're doing it through video and podcasts, but it's just starting that conversation with people and making people feel comfortable. So
Right. Well, and I love that your organization doesn't cut off at 18, because as you and I had previously discussed, you know, it's not like when you turn 18, all of a sudden you're just an adult, and all of a sudden, you know, as 17 you were a kid, and all of a sudden 18, boom, you're an adult. Like it doesn't quite happen like that. I myself, 27 years old, feel like I have all the learning possible yet to do.
and
And
I'm with you on that.
I
Yeah.
think most people are. And so, you know, I'm not sure that adult is an age, and you know, it's 25 the services provided.
12 to 25. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
25, and so fully encouraging anyone within that range in your area to use that service, and one that I would definitely have used given what I know about it now and where I'm at in my own journey and trying to be better.
Mm-hmm. So just like on the topic of like, you know, with what you're doing, like how have you seen kind of like stigma play out in your experience, whether like you personally or like being part of like, you know, like a team in the sports, and like that focus of, you know, doing your best and performing your best, and maybe the pressures that people have, and I guess like the stigma that comes along with that.
What I found in my own journey, will say, as well as from speaking to people, is that the scariest thing they ever did was reach out and ask for help. But then they'll also turn around and say that, well, that was the scariest thing they've ever done. It was also the best thing they ever did, because it was at that moment when they kind of put maybe their ego aside, let their guard down, and were ready to accept that help, to find that the help was there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so we all have such a big fear in imagining asking for help and not receiving it. We all fear what our peers are going to think of us. We all fear these different things and have our different reasons for not taking that step. But in anybody I've spoke to, they all say that it was that moment when they realized that the people they were worried about not being on their side were definitely on their side, and even more so in that instance of vulnerability, when
Mm-hmm.
when they seek that help. And, you know, to follow that up with, say, what I'm doing right now, you know, I've never got a negative response. You know, there's never been anybody in a comment or in an inbox or anything saying, oh, like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
You should be ashamed of this. Everyone is very supportive, encouraging, you know, especially during this time of the pandemic. You know, everyone's, you know, it's either you, and if it's not you, it's somebody very close to you that is probably enduring struggles like these.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, we really need to be together on this, available for each other. And you find out when you ask for help that the people around you are. And if you don't have
Sure.
immediate people directly around you, well, then that's what organizations like yours are for.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then they go there and find that the people that they're looking for that support from are right where you are. Right. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, the stigma around seeking help is so uh, instilled in the fear that we all have of what others are going to think. You
Yeah.
know, but speaking on my own experiences, uh, you know, I've never felt uh, so good in doing that. Right. I'm another one of those people to say, like, it's the best thing I ever did.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
And
awesome.
so it's encouraged further conversation now, on camera, off camera, all trying to solve or work towards being better myself, helping myself be better for those around me, and then, you know, people telling me their stories of the exact same thing. And so,
Mm-hmm.
um, stigma is a tough one. You know, of course, there's so many different unique cases, but you know, there comes a point when, if you really want to do it for yourself, then I encourage everyone to have the strength and courage to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That kind of just makes me think about how I think there's still a lot of stigma in regards to understanding mental health versus mental illness.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of people end up kind of confused, which is legitimate, because it seemed, you know, we're talking about this more and more, and it's sometimes you can get lost in all the information. But you know, when we're talking about mental health, it's like we're talking in a place that we're talking about our well-being, like our emotions and our thoughts and feelings that we have to live with every day, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so that's more about our social connections and our understanding, like, of the world around us, whereas like a mental illness actually affects, you know, people in a greater sense of like actually how you think and feel and behave and interact with different people. But um it just, I think that's a huge part of the stigma that we're kind of starting to break down a little bit, understanding how it's hard to be physically, or, you know, physically well when you're not mentally well. So I think there's a lot that we still have to go, but I think that the conversations and the things that your people like you are doing are really helping that, and, you know, putting out that education. So
I think that's an amazing point you make there, because, you know, of course, there is the health, and then there is the illness side, the, you know, mental health, mental illness. And,
mm-hmm.
you know, it's the thought that the management of your own mental health in creating habits and doing the right things and speaking is what
Mhm.
keeps you from eventually the illness side where, really you might have mismanaged your mental health and now you wind up in a place where you've got some really serious work to do in order to hopefully regain your stability. Right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so it's it's something we all manage, right? We all manage our diets, we all manage our physical health. We're all concerned about that, and so it's just time to really look at the mental side and manage that as openly as say our physical health.
Yeah, for sure. And with that, with the lockdown right now and COVID and how pandemic has like obviously impacted you, and what your plans were, like what would your maybe recommendations or tips and tricks kind of be for young people right now of like coping with these huge changes? And then like maybe especially for people that were part of teams and regular practices and things like that that now are maybe feeling extra isolated because they, kind of lost that part of their life
Right. I think
temporarily,
the
hopefully.
biggest thing, at least on my own and what I've had to do is I've had to realize what I can and can't control. Right. And so in recognizing that the law is the law and that we're meant to distance and that I'm not able to go do these things that I want to do, I'm really trying to take a serious hard look at what I can do. Right. Well, and that's getting my home workouts that I might do, or that's making a schedule in especially the case of a lockdown. Fortunately, I'm at work, and so I still have that structure to be able to go to work and kind of build my day around that.
Mhm.
But if you are just at home, I know myself, I need to make myself a structure. I have to create an itinerary for the day, or otherwise I just simply won't get out of bed. And then I just simply won't go to sleep at night. And then
Mhm.
it creates these patterns of bad habits and then your mind kind of starts to get to you, and it's not until you kind of say, okay, you know what, tomorrow this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. And if you can get these small wins, well, that kind of gets you rolling into a day. And then hopefully you can build that momentum through days and weeks and just continue it on.
Mhm.
Um, don't be so hard on yourself, I guess is another huge tip. I'm incredibly hard on myself. And I have to learn to forgive myself if during those days I had that schedule, I don't stick to it. Right. And to try again the next day or to pick another small victory elsewhere
Mhm.
that'll hopefully stem and grow into more and more small victories. Right. But reach out to your friends and family, right? The virtual tools that we have, right? Our phones. And I think we can get trapped in our phones and they can go against us. But I also think if you're using that phone screen time, laptop time for the sake of either your projects or speaking, kind of like we are right now,
Mhm.
rather than just getting that scroll, right? That's another trap I fall into. The scroll, the scroll, the scroll. It's bad. It's bad for us all.
Mhm.
Um, but so it's a balance that each individual kind of finds on their own and find what works for you and I know that's what works for me. Schedule small wins
Yeah.
and a little bit of forgiveness in there, and that's my program.
Yeah. No, that's great because I think that the biggest part is accepting that some days aren't going to be as successful as others. And
Right.
especially right now, like we have to be patient with ourselves. Like there's changes every day happening in regards to what lockdown looks like, what is allowed, what isn't allowed. And we're just having to adapt like crazy right now. Like just doing your best to do what you can when you can, but also, don't be so hard on yourself if the day doesn't work out exactly as planned. Yeah, I totally like that message. That's awesome.
That's yeah, that's it. I'm thinking about everybody out there. I encourage everyone to use the services that Abby's organization provides, the Kenora Youth Hub. Um, and anything more from you, Abby?
I just want to say thanks again for reaching out, or when I reached out to get back to me so quickly about doing this, because I think it's awesome just starting these conversations and both you and I being young people that care about this, and just having the conversation out there so that, who knows, maybe others might reach out to us and, you know, have that, be able to open that door now that this conversation's out there. So I just want to say thanks again.
No problem.